Path Church.
I'm Reverend Dustin Goodall, and I'm the president of the Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition.
I'm Melanie Crump, and I represent Jacksonville Pagan Pride, and I'm also secretary of Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition.
And I'm Reverend Don Lewis, coming to you from beautiful Florida, representing the Correllian tradition and former president of NEFLPLC.
What is NEFLPLC? What is the Northeast Pagan Coalition?
So who wants the cookie?
Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition.
Get this man a cookie.
So Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition is an organization of member groups of the Northeast Florida area. So you have to be a representative of a group to join. And what we do is we serve the community as pagan leaders of groups. So we get together and do projects like we walk in the parade for River City Pride, which is our LGBT Pride parade. We also have a booth at their festival. We do cleanups around the area. We have a couple of different projects that we do throughout the year. We're also doing Strides for Pride this year, which is a Jasmine, which is a youth group for LGBT community. It's a fundraiser for them. So we have a couple of people that will be running in it, a couple of people that will be volunteering. So we just do community service work, and we also hold rituals during the summer for the community. So we just, basically join together so we can do bigger things for our community.
How did it begin?
Oh boy. So, during the process of trying to get the groups to come together for PPD, we were going around to each of the individual groups, and this kind of actually started off with the discussion group at Sanctuary, didn't it? Talking about getting clergy together. And we had a few clergy there, and they're like, this is a wonderful idea. So we started going around to the community and talking to the community and going, hey, we have this idea. And it became NEFLPLC. It really did. It came together really amazingly and cohesively. And we all worked together. So we've really, I can honestly say this, we've really brought the community back together than where it was many years ago.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Reverend Laurie, you mentioned yourself as a founding member.
Yep.
So you're there at the beginning. So why did you come up and join this? We know you have your own temple, and
One of my basic rules of my life is that I have to do service. I can't just take from the world, I have to give back. And paganism has given me so much in my life that it was a way to give back to the broader community. The other reason is I wanted to make the pagan community more visible in Jacksonville. I truly believe that the more people that know us as people, they will become more accepting of who we are. When I'm a bank vice president who just happens to be a pagan high priestess, I think the community accepts more when you approach your paganism that way. So they get to know you as a person because you're out in the community, you're doing service work, and oh, by the way, this person might be a Presbyterian minister, and oh, this person's a pagan high priestess. But what they see is a leader out there trying to improve the community that we all live in.
now just over the last weekend, that you guys did a homeless feed. I guess that was led by Chosen Path, but you've got all of the different groups to join you on that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Whenever I do a service project, and Chosen Path Church does one every quarter, I always announce that in the NEFLPLC group in case somebody else wants to join us. And we had great participation. We had financial donations made from groups that did not join us that night, but we did have Whispers of the Water. We had ATC, Florida Wicked Church of Florida. We had Phoenix Fire Festival represented. We had Pagan Pride Association represented, and we had Sanctuaries of Spiritual Growth. So we had 5 of the 14 NEFLPLC groups represented the actual night of the event, and that's just wonderful.
And did I understand you have 14 groups?
In NEFLPLC, yes, we do.
That's a
And
lot.
we have a 15th that is going through the process to join.
So that's a really cohesive amount of people. It actually is a really representative, and congratulations.
And all get along.
Yes.
Well, I was going to ask you, because Don is also as a tradition head,
Yeah,
and you've been involved with leadership conferences in other parts of the country.
that's true. The Chicago Pagan Leadership Conference 30 years ago.
So what makes this one work? Because a lot of times you hear about them not being able to work, or they're difficult.
Well, there are 2 answers to that. One of them is more egocentric than the other one. The first one is that it's a great group of people who get along, and they want to be there. And they're all on the same page. Second, when I first became involved in this, which was pretty much at the beginning, my advice was that those who want to work together should, and those who don't want to be part of it, leave them alone. With the Chicago Pagan Leadership Conference, there were a lot of people who tried to bring everyone in regardless of whether they wanted to be there or not. And those people who did not want to be there did a lot of damage. So NEFLPLC has attracted the people who want to be there, and those who don't want to be there, no harm, no foul. They do what they want to do.
Now, Melanie, you're the secretary. That means you take care of the paperwork.
Yes.
Now, so one of the things I see a lot of groups fail to do is deal with their paperwork. So how do you keep it so organized?
Well, I already run Jacksonville Pagan Pride, so that's taught me a lot about organizing all my paperwork. I don't have a co-coordinator for that, so I had to really stay on the ball to keep everything together because I don't have anybody else to help me with the event to run it. So that helped quite a bit. I'm also a vet tech as profession, which involves a lot of paperwork. You have to keep track of vitals and histories and all that stuff. So I think that helped quite a bit. But so we take meeting minutes, and we have a membership book and everything that we put together. And we just applied to be a 501c3 officially. So we're waiting to hear back about that.
So as president, so how do you keep this from consuming your life? Because you have to keep with a lot of groups and a lot of energy out there. I would say that this it takes a substantial amount of time. How do you keep it from taking? You seem to have a balanced life. I may be wrong.
Well, I'm honestly kind of a balanced person, but in all honesty, it's the support group of the board. The vice president and the secretary really help. We each have our own tasks that we perform, and we've got everything divvied up, so it really doesn't consume us. Our secretary right now is kind of a little overloaded with paperwork and stuff like that, but it's the beginning of the year, so I'm going to go with. And I actually don't mind. I look forward to working with everybody. I actually look forward. We have a Remind Me app that I love posting on to remind everybody of the things they're supposed to be doing, which is great. And technology today is honestly great to help ease the process, if you will. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there to make it a lot easier. One of my biggest tasks and goals this year is actually to move the organization over to the Google Suites and try to make things a lot easier for all of our member groups by putting things up in the Google Docs, using Hangouts for communication, and just the Google app in general to help us be more organized and to give everybody the tools they may need while we go through doing what we do.
So one of the things that always kind of destroys groups or is damaging to groups is that the resources or the cost of the groups fall onto a few people. How do you manage the costs and the resources necessary to run this organization?
Can we cover that one? So in our bylaws, it is stated that each group is responsible for paying for their portion. Now, mind you, NEFLPLC does do fundraisers to ease our cost for our individual groups. So we do psychic fairs is our main fundraiser currently, which makes it a good amount to help support us. And each group, in all honesty, with it broke across 14 member groups, really reduces the cost when we go do events and things. So it honestly isn't as bad as you think.
It actually allows us to do events that isn't at individual groups would be cost prohibitive. Like the Gay Pride Parade. For that weekend is what, $150 just for registration fees?
Just for registration, and that doesn't include the parade.
flow,
Yeah, the flow.
and all that. None of us as individual groups could afford that, but combined, it's $15,
Yep.
for everything. So it's much, much easier to do stuff as a group.
It's very interesting. That is a very interesting point. So, what is your favorite part of NEFLPLC? What is it? Do you guys have any individual thing that you just really love to do, about it?
I love going to other groups' events and rituals. I discovered Correllianism at the very beginning of my pagan journey. So I want to say I'm born and raised Correllian because for my pagan life, I have been Correllian. However, there's such a diverse community in that 14 groups that I am learning so much about other paths. And that learning helps me understand other traditions that I encounter at the Parliament of World Religions or other venues. So I love going and participating in other traditions, rituals as an educational experience.
I can go next. I have the answer.
Okay, go ahead. That works.
For me, it's kind of twofold. It's the community service aspect as well as the activism. Besides the things I mentioned earlier, we also have participated in the suicide prevention walk that's local, and we actually almost raised $1,000 to help support that just with our group. We had a pretty good turnout. I think we had at least 7 people in our group as we walked in that one. And that's the biggest one we've had, and we've done it for about at least 3 years now that we've participated in that walk. When we participate in these community events, I love that we're giving back to our community, which we should be, and we're being able to do it in a larger way than if I just did the suicide prevention walk and raised money, for instance. I might only raise $50, but altogether, we almost literally just barely were just underneath 1,000. That's a huge impact. And then for the activism part of it, we're getting it out there that pagans care about the community and we're part of the community as well. We're not separate from our community. When we go out to, again, we mentioned the River City Pride Parade, they shout out, "The pagans are here." It normalizes and also puts us in the forefront that we're part of the community and that we're doing for the community and that we support the community. And it puts us in a light that people don't think about us. They might think of, oh, maybe this church or that church supports the community for LGBT, but the fact that another totally different tradition, a base of religion that they don't think about, thinks about them and supports them is a huge thing. They had the human rights ordinance that we got to go, and the human rights ordinance that they passed in the area was to add into the language that you can't discriminate against people based on their gender identity or their sexual orientation. So that was a big thing too. We went to the city hall meetings and we were the pagan representation there. So the community work in relation to activism, it all kind of comes together. And I love that part of being in this organization.
I think my answer again would be the people. I love all the people in the organization. I love getting to spend time with the different people, go to the different groups. I think that it's very enjoyable. And I think it says everything about NEFLPLC that we recently had conversation where several of us expressed that we don't have enough events to get together for because we would like to see more of each other. And that tells you have a good group.
I have to say the service for the community and to see the groups come together to do that, which was one of the biggest building blocks for me when we talked about doing NEFLPLC, because I honestly think giving back to the community is very, very important.
Yes,
and
indeed.
most of our NEFLPLC members, almost all of our NEFLPLC members, know that I'm somewhat of a prankster. So it's really, yeah, really. But it's to be able to get together with a group and be who you are and be accepted for who you are. And it's just fun to be around everybody and just kind of do what we do and be the people that we are.
We've become family.
We really have.
I also enjoy the evening ceremony where new groups are evaluated and
yes,
have to explain what kind of tree they would like to be.
Gracious. So yes, we borrowed the deeming from the Corellians as part of our joining into NEFLPLC before we take our vote for all our standing member groups to allow a new group come in. So here we are, the board sitting in front of this poor individual, and of course we have to open up for the different questions that we ask. And Lord Don asks about what tree you want to be, which was the first time Well, it was the first time I've ever heard of this, and I'm like, what? And when you talk to me about it later, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So I can only imagine like the Corellian teamings at this point. What flower? What?
If you were an herb.
There
If
it
you were a
is.
dessert, what dessert would you choose to be?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
So, looking to the future, and one of the hardest parts of all pagan groups appear to be regenerative, to have a regenerative culture. And I notice that a lot of your groups have children. I know that some of your groups actually have scouts and things of that nature. Can you talk to you now where you see your future going and how you're going to regenerate yourselves over, do you have plans for that?
So we actually have multiple concepts that we work off. One is our scout group that we actually support a great deal of, and we look forward to bringing more into working with. So not only educating them through the different traditions, since they have access to basically the pagan community in the area to learn from, but I know a lot of times when they do the comparative religion classes in the colleges, we are one of the first groups they find, and we go and talk about that.
We also always make sure we have children's activities at the Pagan Pride events.
Yes, during Pagan Pride, we do have a children's workshop booth because I do think that's very important. Because sometimes, like I was saying previously, is that life gets in the way sometimes, and you don't spend time for your spiritual path. And we have pagan parents that they of course want to teach their kids, but they also have schoolwork and sports and this and that going on. So I like to give that opportunity for them to do workshops that are spiritually related that they might not have time in their day-to-day life. One of the other things about Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition is that the members aren't just members, they're representing groups. So say when the unfortunate situation, if somebody passed away that was leading that group is still a member organization because another representative would just come in to lead that group. So the group wouldn't fall away unless the whole group disbanded if something like that happened, or if the leader of that group moved to another location, their secondary person or whoever would be taking over that group would be the new representative of that group. So in a way, we would keep the organization alive, so to speak, and keep going with the fact that the it's membership groups, not just particular members of this organization.
We always ask every membership group to have a second, and they're in the committee private group. They can read all the minutes. They can keep abreast of everything that's going on. Come to the meetings if they would like. So we do have, for most of the groups, we've got someone tagged that is the next representative if the current one is unable to serve.
We also support our member groups. We're not standing alone in anything that we go to anymore. All you have to do is reach out to the organization to get support. If you have a harebrained idea of, hey, I would like to collect presents for local pagan kids or adopt families or something like that, we can do this as organizations. And I get support for these ideas. I mean, we all have these random ideas that we just throw out on the table and we're like, we can make that work, absolutely. So it's it really does help keep us alive and keep us growing. And we always look towards the future and what we're doing to help better it.
Another thing I think we do really well is work outside of our groups. A lot of pagan groups I've observed, they do a lot for their own group, but they never move outside of that group. And statistically, 80% of pagans are solitaries. So we offer house cleansings, we offer all of our clergy services. I mean, we do serve the broader pagan community outside of the NEFLPLC groups. So anyone can contact us that has a spiritual need, whether they're part of our group or not. If they have a particular path that they are drawn to, odds are we have someone in the group that would be following that path that we can connect them with so that they can get the spiritual counseling or services that they need.
Well, it's nice in our community that we have several open groups. Cubs is open, so we actually have a lot of new people come to that. Sanctuary Rooms of Spiritual Growth is open. So you have these people that are just curious about paganism and they get to come in. And here we are, member groups of a larger organization, and we go, oh, what are you interested in? Oh, you like that? Well, this group over here actually does that, and we can point them in the direction that they need to go.
So one last question. So for groups that want to, I get asked a lot about how do we start these sort of bigger, larger organizations? Because it seems like we have really big national organizations, and then you have the groups, but there's not a lot in between. And you guys feel that for your region, you feel like you guys do a really good job filling your regions. So if somebody's looking to try to do the same thing in their area, what's your best piece of advice for them to get started on it?
Can I actually tackle this one? Because I'd like to break this down into two parts.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to say is I'd love to see our group start getting sister groups throughout Florida. And in all honesty, I think that would be absolutely amazing. And part of that is if you really want to start a group, and contact us. We are more than welcome to share our bylaws with you. We're more than willing to sit down and help you and talk to you about how we went about doing our organization and what has worked for us and what hasn't worked for us. In all honesty, outreach. Talk to those groups that have done this. Really get a little bit of guidance and help with these things. We work together really well, and we have great people that help start it off. Ask for advice. And the biggest thing is figure out what you want to do with your local group. We chose community service for one of our biggest things, education for our clergy. So figure out what you want in your local, what you want out of your local group, out of your area, and talk to people. More than willing to just reach out and talk to us. I have no problem going, hey, this is our bylaws. I'll video conference you and go, hey, this is what we did, and help out.
And if they want to get in touch, where would they go?
I'm actually going to look at you for this, for our email.
It's the acronym for our organization, so it's NEFLPLC@gmail.com. So NEFLPLC@gmail.com.
Also look us up on Facebook. We actually have a page for that. And also, meetup, absolutely want to meet up. And also look up jackspagan.org. You actually have we have a list and links there for all of our local member groups.
Yeah. One of the basic ways that we really started getting everybody together, if you don't, some of the areas don't have really good relations or no relation at all with the different groups in that area. What worked for us is when I started running Jacksonville Pagan Pride, I actively, physically went to the events of the different pagan groups and covens that I was invited to go to their rituals or gatherings and introduced myself and just went and supported what they were doing, and then would create an opportunity for them to be involved with Pagan Pride by doing a workshop or running a ritual. And just to kind of build the camaraderie a bit. So just go around and find something that's a commonality, something that you can focus on to help support those groups. Because if you can give them an avenue that helps support their group and what they're already doing, then they're going to be more likely to want to work with you and join an organization possibly, and build something like we did here. And that was kind of a starting point, is and make sure you keep things fair. A lot of times people, we're not perfect. People get jealous of things and think, oh, this person might get something more than me. So make sure when you create these opportunities that you keep them fair and equal. Equal opportunity for, I have this X amount of workshops, so they know where ahead of time, so you don't think that you're cutting somebody out of being able to do something like that. For rituals, I have 2 rituals every year for Pagan Pride, and I rotate it through not just members of Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition, but members, or just groups in the Jacksonville greater area, so that it doesn't make it so that there's any favoritism or anything, that you're opening up opportunity for these groups to shine and present themselves if that's something that they want to do, if they don't want to be hidden, and work from there, building a rapport and friendship with them.
And there's lots of opportunities to do that, not just through Pagan Pride, like our beach rituals. Long before NEFLPLC came along, we were doing community beach rituals in Jacksonville, and we do them May through September. And one group would offer a ritual each month on the full moon, and I kind of coordinated that through Chosen Path. But when NEFLPLC came along, I turned that over to NEFLPLC, still coordinating it, but it's now a NEFLPLC event instead of Chosen Path. And now we have 2, and we might get into the situation next year where we have 3 groups working together to put on one ritual a month. And we've expanded into October. So 6 months out of the year, groups are working together to provide an opportunity for local pagans to come and not only worship, but also to network, to learn about the groups that are available to them, because we always have a potluck in addition to the ritual. So there's a lot of things you can do to open the door to groups working together. And once they get used to working together, then an organization to kind of solidify that just makes sense.
Food. We're pagans. Food always helps.
Yeah.
But to add a personal bit in here, when we actually sat down to start NEFLPLC, before we even had a name for it, we kind of voted our leaders, or our board, if you will, on who would run it. Now, I was essential in bringing everybody together for a lot of this. And I didn't expect to be in the position that I was. I just wanted the community to be better. So I figured one of the leaders in the area that was better known would be voted into these board positions. And lo and behold, I was voted in.
Sorry about that.
I'm not. I was just surprised. It really did stun me, because I'm like, really? You want me to do this? You really don't know me that well. Because at that time, I was fairly new, and
Yes.
well, I mean, even at that time, I was fairly new to the community, and it really stunned me. So if you go into doing something like this, don't really have any expectations. Take the surprises as they come.
Well, thank you all. That was lovely. And so this has been say it one more time, folks.
Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition. Where's my cookie?
Yep, absolutely.
All together now. NEFPLC.